All right, what's up, folks? Lynn right here. So I just finished day number 8 of 100 burpees. I'm just finished catching my breath a little bit, still winded, still feeling it, exhausted right now, but that's okay. With time, with repetitions, that cardiovascular, that pulmonary strength and endurance will increase. These exercises will get easier, and obviously at that point we add more to it, right? Make it hard again, right? So I just briefly before I go on to the question that I was asked the other day, I'm finding that it's my prior thinking for the last many years isn't always correct, right? I'm finding what's working for me right now is finding an activity that's difficult and doing that activity for a certain amount of time. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be months, and then once that activity gets easier, then increase it a little bit, right? So I'm finding that's what's working for me right now. I'm getting older, right? I actually have some injuries from the military and also personal injuries from just years of working out and things like that. And I'm finding that's what works for me, primarily because I do have some injuries, some prior injuries, some pre-existing injuries. So that's what works for me. So here's a question I was asked the other day. I was asked, why do you choose burpees? Why would you do 100 burpees every single day? And so there are very simple reasons, 2 reasons. One, burpees are hard mentally, right? Think about it. Burpees are very boring activity. They are hard, physically hard, but they're a very boring activity. You're standing up, sitting down, or lying down in a push-up position, go down, up, stand up. Same thing over and over and over. It's a very boring activity. That's what makes it mentally hard, primarily. What it teaches you to have a plan, right? Have a task and execute it until it's done, right? It's a super boring activity. No one wants to do 1 burpee. Who wants to do, why would you want to do 100 burpees, right? It's a boring activity. But you set your mind to a task and you work at it, you chip away at it until it's accomplished. So it's very hard mentally. Number 2, physically it's hard. Think about it. We're in a comfortable position, right? We're standing, and then we lie down on the ground, not on our bed, right? Not on the elevated surface, completely on the ground where our feet are. And we stand back up. We're doing that multiple times, over and over and over. It's a very hard activity, very difficult, muscular-wise, pulmonary-wise, right? Or cardiovascular or pulmonary-wise. So it's a really hard activity, right? When I finish doing these burpees, I feel it everywhere, pretty much shoulders primarily, chest, core, hamstrings, glutes. I don't really feel it much in the quads, but that's okay, right? I do supplemental things to help with that squatting. But eventually I will incorporate a little squat into the routine, right? But right now it's single pump burpees, or single push-up burpees for those that don't know what a pump is. So a pump is a push-up. So it's a really hard activity, right? So I'm going to go off a little tangent here. So I work in the physical therapy realm, and part of my job is, obviously, I do physical therapy, right? So part of my job is rehabilitating people, and I actually do have a number of patients that don't even have injuries, right? A lot of the times they fall in their home and they're just not able to get up, right? They don't have that muscular strength to get up, and sometimes they'll lay on the ground for days, right? I've actually had a patient who actually laid out in a pasture in the back of her house for, I believe it was 3 or so days before someone else happened to come by her home and see her in the backyard. I think she was yelling, and someone on the street heard it, right? She lived in a kind of a rural area. So that patient wasn't even injured. She was just too weak to crawl to her house, right? Or too weak to stand up. And what kind of make this story a little strange is that she had 2 or 3 dogs that actually watched her for those 3 or 4 days while she was laying out there in a pasture. They watched her from the porch in the shaded area. So that's kind of a side note. But getting on the ground and getting up is a hard activity. And obviously with age, as we get older, our fast twitch muscles, they start to decline a little bit, right? A lot of times we see a lot of people there in kind of the older population, they are in the malls in the mornings doing laps, right? Walking at this kind of slow pace, right? That's good for them. That's absolutely amazing. But there are other things we could do that might be a little more beneficial, right? And I'll get into all that stuff in another video. But keeping some type of dynamic activity or high dynamic activity in our repertoire, in our schedule, in our routine is important from the time we are 10 years old when we start working out and playing sports, or 6 years old, until we can no longer do those activities anymore. So what was I getting at? So it's important. So a lot of times a lot of my patients don't have any injuries, right? They just have a hard time getting up off of the ground, right? They don't have that muscular strength to do those types of activities. So this actually helps with that, right? I'm perfectly capable, right? As you saw, I did 100 times. I can probably do 200 times, right? I'd probably die, but perfectly capable of getting up and down off of the ground. But it's important to keep that ability, right? So as I age, I need to continue doing activities like this so that over time that ability does not go away. So kind of went off into a tangent there, but again, the purpose is, number one, mentally it is difficult. Number two, physically it's difficult, right? I think mental is probably slightly more important than physical, but physical is right there. So I got a bee flying around my head there. I think it's landed on my head. But that's it, guys. So mental, physical, right? We got to find something hard and do it. So here's a challenge I have for you guys. So today, go ahead and take your blood pressure. If you have a blood pressure cuff, you can go to Walgreens if there's a Walgreens open. We're in this coronavirus pandemic time, so there may not even be any stores open. But go ahead and take your blood pressure and your heart rate. Write that down. Tomorrow morning, do 25 burpees if you're able to, or something similar to a burpee, right? It could be getting down on the ground, sitting, standing up, whatever works for you. Do that 25 times. Do that 25 times for the next 2 weeks. And then the following day, check your blood pressure, check your heart rate again. I can almost guarantee you your blood pressure will be lower and your resting heart rate will be lower. Your body will get used to these activities and in turn get stronger, get better at working, and overall leads to better health, and also you'll be stronger, right? You will notice definitely more muscle definition. You'll also notice you being able to get up out of a chair easier, get out of bed easier, all that good stuff, right? So yeah, that's the challenge, right? So just 2 weeks, 25 repetitions. I can guarantee you can do it. It may be hard for you, but it's definitely doable. If you're physically and medically able to, I should add that. I shouldn't just throw that out there. If you're physically, medically able to do that type of activity, try it out and see how it fares for you. That's all I got, guys. I kind of just rambling right now, but thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.